welcome back to another video. This one is going to be Clangen, like the others, except horsified. So we are going to be following along with a couple of horse herds that are living out in the wild. So, to get started, let's just jump right into the world. Several ranches have been struggling to keep their horses in their fields as the wild herds have been causing enough of an issue that their mares keep getting out and joining the wild horses. Along with their other livestock escaping in the process, the ranchers have decided that this is a bit of a nuisance. So they team up to do a large herd roundup, along with trying to push the rest of the herds further away at the same time of whoever they can't catch. This has resulted in many herds being torn apart as the horses attempt to escape and flee to somewhere safe. Most herds are down to only a few horses, though our particular herd we'll be looking into is even smaller than the others. Swift Wind's herd has been reduced to nothing but a young filly barely old enough to survive on her own as she takes care of two foals. But before we get into things too much, I'll go over a few things about how the herds work so you all can kind of understand and follow along a little better. First, we have the herd stallions, which will have stride added to their name instead of the warrior cats leaders having star. Stallions also only have one life. The lead mare takes place of the deputy. The mare chosen for this role is determined by personality, stallion's preference, as well as who's most capable of running things. The healer is pretty self-explanatory. The one thing with this role is that this is typically the only role a fellow stallion can have. The herd is typically made up of only mares, with a single stallion leading the band. A second stallion can be in the herd if he's remaining as a healer and will not compete for any of the mares, or is an old stallion that has chosen to retire and grants a younger stallion the ability to lead as long as they get to remain in the herd for their retirement, which adds to their safety rather than being alone out in the wilderness. Despite this, it does come down to each herd's lead stallion to make the call on how strict they choose to be. Some may be generous and allow other stallions in the herd with certain restrictions, while others may want no other stallions in the herd regardless of the room that they may have. Then we have the young. Those who are of apprentice age will have step instead of paw at the end of their name. Foals will just have foal at the end of their name instead of kit. Also, due to cats and horses aging differently, I've been also running things so that a horse cannot have offspring until they are 2 years old or 24 moons. Also, they are only able to have a single foal at a time. Cats can have kits fairly frequently, whereas a horse can only have one foal a year. However, it gets to be a bit much to try and watch out for this when monitoring several of these herds at the same time. So I won't be watching that too carefully, so there may be times a mare has more than one foal a year, depending on how things go, as I am using a mod that allows several herds to run at the same time. So it's not just me jumping, between different game sessions, it's all in one game. And finally, when a new stallion takes over the herd, the foals will be killed unless the mother can make a convincing enough plea to spare the foal. And also, once foals reach 12 to 20 moons old, they are kicked out of the herd so that they can join a new one, or they'll just be roaming around alone, or potentially caught by one of the ranchers. Despite these rules, the herds have been forced to a new land and to adapt. The limited numbers and unique situations they have found themselves in may result in herd structures changing. Another fun little thing is that this will take place in a fantasy-type environment, so that the cat colors will just be translated over directly into the horses' colors. So these horses will not be realistically colored. Additionally, I am going to be rolling dice at times to determine how certain situations develop, which I think adds to a bit of the fun. But without further ado, let's get into things. So to start things off, we are going with our main herd, which are known as the Swift Winds herd. The first horse to be introduced is Ripple Dapple. She's the oldest, starting off the year at 10 moons old, which in horse speak would be a weanling, an old weanling. She would be about to become a yearling. Her herd was nearly entirely rounded up, leaving her rather lost and panicked. But as she raced around trying to find her family, she stumbled across 3 other foals who'd also been separated from their families. Being the oldest, Ripple decided to look out for the others and did everything in her power to keep them safe. As the moons pass, she eventually becomes a rather stable and determined yearling that the others look up to. Everyone except Heronstep, that is. The other young filly and Ripple Dapple seem to be at odds constantly through the year. She tries to smooth things over, but nothing seems to work, and eventually she just relents and accepts the fact that Heronstep is determined to hate her. Outside of the strained relationship there, Ripple also deals with dangers frequently. First is a small pack of coyotes that she manages to drive off, but ends up with some serious wounds from it. Shortly after recovering from those injuries, she spots some wolves scouting out the area. Despite only being a year old, she knows she must protect the younger members of the herd and charges at the pair of scouting wolves. It's a tough battle, but she manages to drive them off as well. Due to these being wolves, she does suffer some larger injuries that cause her to remain near the herd and not wander off to patrol the area. Though that doesn't mean she doesn't watch everything as closely as possible. While stuck remaining closed, she does develop a strong bond with Step, young colt in the herd, who often provides comforting words and reassures her that she's doing a good job and wants to be just like her one day. His support is what helps her pull through each challenge and continue pushing on. As the year ends, Ripple Dapple is fed up with Heronstep to the point she begins to try to feed the younger filly lies and snaps at her somewhat frequently. It's only thanks to Step that she doesn't fully consider simply chasing off the filly. The final thing to happen as the year ends is for Ripple to once again take on a couple of wolves once more. Again, she wins and chases them off, but once again requires the healer's attention. Her flanks have become quite scarred up from all the various attacks she's dealt with. But she is strong and continuing to thrive. That is where things end for young Ripple Dapple. The next young horse we have is Step. He starts off the year as an older foal who eventually reaches the age to begin taking on more responsibilities and help out look for the little herd. One of the most notable things of this young colt is how smitten he becomes of Heronstep at the very beginning. He'd say it was love at first sight. From the moment the two met, he became her shadow, as he'd follow her everywhere and do anything he could to help her, as he would do from the smallest of tasks to the largest, just for her. Despite his infatuation, Heronstep doesn't seem to return any of his feelings. This leads him to go to River Dapple for advice. A few things are explained to him, and so he begins to adjust his approach, which does indeed seem to help, as he's able to form a solid friendship with Heronstep. Thanks to the successful advice, as well as seeing how hard Ripple works to keep them all safe, he also begins to form a friendship with the older filly and does what he can to lighten her load in caring for them. Halfway through the year, while Ripple Dapple is injured, Step takes it upon himself to patrol the land around the herd. He's told to not wander off too far, but as he catches the scent of a cougar nearby, he boldly charges it, determined to do his part to keep the herd safe. The cougar is startled and gets only a few swipes before fleeing due to the unexpected rush. Step prances back to the herd, rather proud of himself, much to the horror of the fillies, as he has a few more serious wounds than he'd realized in the moment, thanks to his thoughts being filled with only how much this would impress his crush, Heronstep. Near the end of the year, Stemstep is given a full name of Stempatch, as he's proven to be loyal and brave enough to earn it. With this, he wishes even more to fully confess his feelings to Heronstep. After spending an entire night awake, racking his brain for what he could do to impress her, he finally figures out the perfect move to make and follows through on it the following day. Unfortunately, she rejects him. He ends the year avoiding Heronstep a fair bit, as the rejection did sting a lot. He's still a comforting figure when she needs it after a terrifying dream, but is struggling to deal with his broken heart. I also forgot to mention that Ripple Dapple is quite tall and is able, that's kind of why she's been fairly capable of taking on the dangers, as she is a thoroughbred cross with Mustang. And Stempatch here is just a pony. So, yeah, he's just a little pony chasing after Heronstep, who is Mustang filly and taller than him. Last horse for this herd is Heronstep. She started off as an older foal, but as she adjusted to her new life with the others, she decided to go down the path of a healer. She'd always felt close with the spirits of the past, and the healer of her previous herd had shown her a few herbs before the roundup, so it seemed fitting for her to follow this path. It quickly proves to be the exact role she was needed to take, as Ripple Dapple comes to her frequently with injuries. Despite not being able to stand the older filly, Heronstep does her duty and patches up every wound the other has. With every passing day, her dislike for the older filly simply continues to grow. She's not entirely able to pinpoint why, but she can't get rid of the feeling. She tries not to let it influence her treatment of the other, but it is a struggle. She's grateful to have Stempstep as a friend who is a constant ray of sunshine in her life. She doesn't get up to much else in the year, simply tending to the other's injuries as needed. She eventually becomes well versed in herbs and ability to heal that she's granted her full name of Heronbeak near the end of the year, which is soon followed by Stempatch confessing his feelings for her. Despite rejecting his proposal to be mates, she does also have some feelings for him. She simply thinks they're still a bit too young to be paired up, as they're only yearlings still. They are quite young to have taken on their full names, but their ancestors of the past seem to be blessing them with them regardless, as they are a unique little herd that is trying to survive on their own. There was a fourth member of this little herd at the start by the name of Palestep. She was a sweet filly who struggled to get over losing her previous herd, but was the second oldest next to Ripple Dapple. She tried her best to look out for the others and joined Ripple in a few patrols. Unfortunately, only a few moons in, Palestep died while out on a patrol. She'd gone to check around the cliffside of a territory only to wander too close to the edge and have the earth give out beneath her, and she plummeted down to her death. This was a really unfortunate way for her to go, as there was a lot of potential. She seemed like she was going to be honestly the sweetest of the bunch, but it seems she wasn't meant to last long, and now she's one of the ancestors that guides the other three. And now we're going to move over to do a little overview of the other herds. I've been keeping track of them and will give brief overviews in the different videos as to what's been happening. However, the amount of overview that will be given, as well as who will be mentioned in them, will differ depending on how large our main herd gets. As I don't want these videos getting too long, and also it does get tiring drawing so many characters. And also because I'm keeping them short and simple, I am not drawing the full body of every single horse in these other herds. But with that said, let's just jump into our first outside herd. This one is known as the Owl's Flight herd. It's a small band often seen by others to be cunning and observant. The lead stallion of this band is Stag Stride. He's one of the ranch horses that escaped a breeding program and claimed a herd for himself. He's a charismatic Arabian who's done quite well to look out for the herd so far. Following him is the lead mare named Lyre Chirp, a Mustang who's quite a skilled mediator and driven by the need for all to be treated fairly and each rank be respected. She's also the first of the mares to have Stag Stride's foals. And following her, we have the healer, Ashen Speck. He's the oldest child of the other two, and as a stallion, was to be kicked out. However, they had recently lost their healer to the roundup, so he stepped up into that role. As it turns out, it was a good thing he took it on, as there were several bouts of white cough and green cough through the year. Next up, we have the Golden Dandelion herd, and they are seen as logical and decisive. The stallion is an old Welsh pony named Shatterstride. He is the smallest of all the horses in the herds and the oldest of the leading stallions. Despite this, he's quite spirited and skilled at keeping his little family safe. He was abandoned by his two legs to die when he was sick due to his age, rather than the money be spent into healing him. The herd took him in, and when they lost their stallion in the roundup, he stepped up and led the herd to new lands that will hopefully be safer. Next, we have the lead mare, who was also taken in from the roundup. So the lead mare was taken in the roundup, so Pondgale stepped up and has taken the role temporarily. She's an old mare who has a rather nervous personality, and this role causes her a fair bit of stress. So she is training one of the young fillies to take over this role at the end of the year. The confident young Mustang, Elm Howl, is to be the new lead mare next year, as long as all goes according to plan. The healer in this herd is also a stallion. He's a Mustang by the name of Doveflare. Despite being the ideal age of a stallion to take over a herd, he far prefers to keep busy with plants. He has no problems letting Shatterstride take over and has no interest in having any mates, as his only desire is to heal. Following them, we have the Frosted Strike herd, who is often seen as bloodthirsty and methodical. The lead stallion is actually changed through the year. At the start, it was Darkstride, a Mustang known for his incredibly fast running speeds and constant source of support for his herd. Unfortunately, near the end of the year, he was bitten by a snake and died from the venom. A young colt he had been mentoring in preparation of sending off soon instead took over the herd upon Darkstride's death. Tornstride is responsible young colt who's nearly 2 years old when he takes over. There was no dedicated lead mare for this herd, as they were left with almost nothing due to the roundup. So, Fireseed, the healer, stepped up and performed both the lead mare and healer role for essentially the entire year. She's a bold mare who will fearlessly tackle any situation. She also trains a young filly named Whistlepond to take over the lead mare role in the near future. Whistlepond is only a moon older than Tornstride, so the two have grown up together and believed to make a good pair to run the small herd. Now, also, despite them having grown up together, they are not related. It's simply a way of one of the mares in the herd was taken in with her young foal. It's not often that a foal be accepted into the herd, but Darkstride was a understanding sort of stallion, and so he did allow that to happen. Next up, we have the Drifting Cloud herd, who are known for being amenable and steadfast. Their lead stallion is actually an old rival of the Golden Dandelion herd stallion. Dreamstride is also a Welsh pony, barely bigger than the other, who was also abandoned alongside Shatterstride. Dream was dumped due to his age and still being a little too eager to fight others, and had recently gotten an injury due to this, and was left behind. He isn't bothered by this and quickly took over caring for this herd after the large roundup, as the previous stallion and others were taken away. His eagerness to fight works to his advantage, as he's able to protect his herd fairly well despite his very short stature. The lead mare is a Mustang named Hickory Light. She's a confident mare that's the fastest runner in the herd and is able to think fast on her feet as well. At first, she was doubtful of Dreamstride, but even though she may not want to admit it, she has grown fond of the small stallion. The herd's healer is Treeglint, an old stallion that was allowed to join to be in a safe herd in his golden years, in exchange for providing healing. He's often on the edges of the herd alone, but finds this relaxing. He's an old draft workhorse that learned things both from his time with Two Legs as well as while he wandered around the herd before the roundup and now uses it to help the others. He's a calm, steady force of comfort for any who need it. The last herd we have is the Fallen Log herd, who are known for being mellow and mercurial. During the roundup, a young Arabian stallion escaped his Two Legs, liking the thought of living wild and free far more than his pampered life offered. Pinestride quickly fled, taking a few others with him, and joined up with a few other displaced horses to create a herd. Unfortunately, near the end of the year, he's ambushed by a much older and larger Mustang, who challenges him for the herd. The older stallion has the upper hand in experience and size, and Pinestride unfortunately dies from this interaction. The new stallion is an old, skilled Mustang named Fringe Stride. The lead mare is one of the other horses that Pinestride took with him from his old home. She's a thoroughbred who took on the name of Thornshell. She is always up for adventure and eager to learn more. Not only that, but she's also one of the best storytellers and teachers this herd has ever had, so it makes sense she's the lead mare to guide the others. And finally, we have the healer, Mushroom Ripple. He's a young draft stallion that got caught up in the chaos of the roundup and was about to return to the Two Legs when Pinestride convinced him a life wild and free was far better. His eager but gentle soul led him to take the path of a healer. And that wraps up the first year of these herds. There are many more stallions of various ages that are wandering around out on their own, but they'll only be mentioned if they happen to affect any of the herds, such as Frinstride, who took over one of them. It's honestly been a lot of fun watching these different herds grow and change, and I'm hoping you guys enjoy it too, as I do plan on making more of these. I already have the second year in the works, so between this and the other Clangen I am posting, you guys should be getting 2 fun different groups to follow along. If you want to see any others, let me know. It's honestly getting kind of addicting to have a couple of different groups on the go, because it's just interesting seeing how different ones evolve. I'm debating if the next Clangen spin-off I do is going to be lions or wolves or just like a mix of different dog breeds. I'm not too sure yet, but I'd love to hear from you guys, see what you think, which one you would prefer seeing next, as well as what do you guys think of these herds. I honestly quite enjoy them. I don't often draw horses. Actually, before this, I think I've drawn horses a handful of times. So, fair warning, my style for the horses is likely going to end up changing as I figure out what I prefer to do the most, or which way I prefer drawing them. And it's going to be a fun adventure just seeing how these characters develop and art develops with it. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Glad to see you guys, and I hope to see you again next time.